Everybody wants to know what has
I
converted
know.
what's converting right now.
The reels, they did perform better than the static images, which surprised me because I feel like static images are having a resurgence again. The one that did best for me, I think the angle number one, kind of a testimonial for myself saying that I had a new lead magnet, that I got a new console call within 24 hours once it was up. So I started with that kind of like hook. The other one, this is probably my best hook so far, which is your lead magnet is psychologically training people not to buy from you. And then going into, I know. And so then for the static images, I had one that did okay. That was a image of a crumpled up paper. Your lead magnet is acting like a digital paperweight. Figure out why, or like figure out the gap. Primarily the reels though did perform the best.
I like that you've tested so many different visuals. If a lead magnet, which they do, solves a pain point, there might be 5 different ways you could communicate about that pain point. Not all of those angles, those hooks will convert equally. So you have been enjoying these series where I interview another online course creator who's running Facebook and Instagram ads, and you can peer behind the scenes at their ads funnel, what's been working for them, what hasn't been working for them, all the decisions they made in running ads, and see also kind of thing they're running ads too. And this episode will not disappoint. I have Danielle Klemm. Hi, Danielle.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going so good. Dear listener, we're laughing because actually all hell has been breaking loose outside my door, my office, my guest bedroom where I am recording. But all is better now. My son is no longer screaming, and he's done getting his hair combed, which apparently, though I can't remember, as you can see with my short hair, is a traumatic, painful experience. Danielle Klemm, you are a conversion optimization specialist who analyzes buyer behavior data to help course creators understand why their funnels aren't converting. And after running a 6-figure ads and funnel agency, you now focus on exclusively identifying the psychological and messaging barriers that prevent sales, helping clients add 6 figures to launches by examining what people actually do on sales pages, not just what they say in surveys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. We're here to talk about your ads. And for the listener, I want to share that if you are in a situation where you have a course that sells and you are thinking about linking up ads to it, or you already have ads running, let's say to a funnel or a lead magnet, if you will, or a quiz. In Danielle's case, she's running ads to a quiz. And that quiz, off the back end of the quiz, has a series of emails that sells into the course, right, Danielle?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So cool. I want to share with you, listener, that is a tried and true way to sell a course. And along the way with running ads, the journey is hardly ever smooth. And normally on the way to success, because I've seen a lot of successful models, hello, I'm an ad manager, but when you start to ask, it turns out that there were plenty of actually, I read this book called The Slight Edge a long time ago. I forget the author of it, but there was this concept called a fail forward. Have you heard of this, Danielle?
I think I've heard of fail forward before. It's kind of like you try and fail fast up front, try and learn as much as you can. Is that the kind of the concept?
So the story that this author presented it in was I'll skip the story. In this book, and it's probably a concept that many books have presented, but the idea was you're going to fail anyway. So when we do fail, there's a lesson to be learned. Figure out the lesson. Don't spend too much time whining about the failure, but figure out the lesson so that you can improve or learn from the failure. Hence, this concept of failing forward, so that we can eventually get to where we want to go.
I mean, that's a solid. I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned personally with my own life, but especially in business too. You can't take what the data shows you personally. You have to think about it as what's the next thing we can kind of learn from it. Even though I know it's hard to like separate that for a lot of people, especially in business when there's a lot of money being involved in ads or launches or something like that. But it's so important to do.
Exactly. So, can you let me and the listener know about your ads funnel as it is, and then we'll jump into it in detail and troubleshoot it and ask some questions.
Sounds good. Yeah. So this funnel is like You already mentioned it is a quiz funnel, so they start with the traditional like quiz landing page. I have them do their name and email, and the thank you page goes to the quiz itself, mainly because I find that works better in terms of getting people just to opt in immediately, and also just for automation's sake, it's just a lot easier to move them over. And so they go there. Once they finish the quiz, then they get a result page, one of the four results. From those results, they also get a like 18-minute video that I had from a previous lesson that I did, and basically tell them like timestamps, what to look for based on your result in the timestamp, like in the video. So that way they know what's going to be aligned for them in the result. And at the bottom of that on the result page, they get sent to a like 2-day evergreen, I think it's like a like $47 instead of $97 type discount that also gets put on the email side. So then there is an email sequence after they get that, even if they don't actually do the quiz. That gets them to still do the quiz and get the email sequence as well. So I kind of do it from both angles of either you can go in immediately and buy like after you finish the quiz, or I'll still follow up with you on the email sequence as well.
Nice. Okay. So tell us, so the quiz, you're running ads to the quiz. The four results from the quiz go to a video where somebody, based on their quiz result, can kind of scrub to a certain timestamp in the video. And then off the back of that, there is a 2-day discount funnel. I'm guessing you use the software Deadline Funnel.
Funny enough, I don't. I'm actually trying out. I'm using System.io currently, and they have an embedded deadline funnel alternative. But the only thing with that, and this is why I don't think I could ever fully let go of deadline funnel for most people, but this one with System.io only gets triggered if you get their name and email. So I have to kind of have the quiz opt-in page be on System.io so then it can trigger it, because that's how it's I guess pinged versus the IP address of deadline funnel. So I'm currently testing out, because I'm normally like a deadline funnel always person, and so I'm testing this out as a potential if it's actually going to work. It seems to be okay for the moment, but it does have limitations because, like you said, you can't do a lot of the features that deadline funnels will have you do.
Yeah, Deadline Funnel is like, sometimes it seems like overkill, but I guess it's Deadline Funnel's just really good at what they do, which is,
Yep, and there's not a lot of alternatives for it, truly.
yeah, it's so either way, you have a 2-day discount off the back end of the quiz, communicating via email and on that quiz result page that somebody has 2 days to get the discount on your main course. Tell us about your main course.
Yeah, so my main course is called Opt-ins That Pays Off, and so it feels very meta. We talked about this pre-podcast because whenever I try and explain that I have a lead magnet quiz going to a lead magnet selection course, it feels very heady. But essentially, what this came off of is it's a course built from so many people telling me they needed it, and I for the longest time was like, no, I don't want to create a course. It's so hard to create a course with nuance. But basically, a lot of people create lead magnets that just set up the signups, like the opt-in, like growing the list, but not set up the sale and priming people to purchase. And so what I do is actually this course is focused on helping you be able to select or revamp the current lead magnet you have to actually prime people to purchase for your offer based on the like mind map that I've created after reviewing like 200 plus lead magnets on what I see based on your offer price, based on if people, how many solutions they've tried before they get to you. Are you doing warm or cold traffic? You'll be able to figure out which path is right for you for like the type, and then also the topic to decide as well. So you can revamp it pretty fast and be able to better have it link without it cannibalizing your paid offer. Because let me tell you, so many people have that issue.
This is very worth it. I used to, it's like, dear, I just want to tell you, listener, as you're listening to Danielle talk, like, this thing is super important. I used to coach. I don't know if I told you that, Danielle. I used to coach inside of like a mastermind back in the day, circa 2000, for several years. And having an aligned lead magnet that leads into, that's aligned with the course that you're trying to sell later on, but that doesn't solve all the problems that your course is meant to solve, it's a thing. It really matters to sell the course. So this is ultra important.
It is, and it's also something that's so hard to explain until you kind of been in it. And so that's been what you'll see when we talk about the ad side, is because the person who needs this, you can still do it if you've never had a lead magnet before, but there's a particular type of pain that happens when you've created one or multiple lead magnets that kind of just bring people in but haven't converted your people. And so that's kind of who I tend to bring in for this. And I really enjoy, people seem to really love the course as well. And so I've made that kind of like my first and kind of main course for the moment, that I'll probably build other ones later. But I just try and, at the moment, like I just built 3 tools to help out with it as well. So I try and make my course as kind of like holistic and as nuanced as I can before I move on to the next thing. So that's my main course for this one.
Okay. All right. And so what you told me before we hit record was that you had turned on ads to this funnel, and initially the ads were doing well, but then performance started to trickle off or taper off. And so you went and reworked some things. You want to walk me through that?
Yes. So I run ads twice for this specific course, but the first one was purely lead gen. I did not have the funnel set up, so I was just trying to gain um, some more leads before the launch started, along with testing out some various different angles of creative, because that was my first time. I think that was my first time running the ads for this course or topic in general, was mid-February. And so I mainly just wanted to see what would work for reels or for static images. And then I kind of took part of what worked from that first test and put it into this recent one. And so this recent one had the full funnel. And basically, what happened was I chose specifically to do lead gen ads versus sales ads, because even though it's $47 in the current funnel, most people would do straight to sales ads, but I chose not to because we just talked about this type of topic is kind of for more either advanced or experienced business owners. And so just trying to start off with that and trying to catch everybody, I need more time to educate them and like prime them, ironically, to be ready for this. And so the ads that I ran for the quiz, I did a mixture of the ones that I had as best performing ones and also a couple of new ones that were static images focused on their problem. And I really wanted to see what would help with both cost per lead, but also with the sale. And so what was interesting, the first day, I think within 3 hours, I got a sale, which was awesome. Like it's cool to have it happen. And then I was getting leads, but the cost per lead was high. And like, as you know, with quizzes, normally they're between like $1 to $5 cost per lead. And this one was getting to the point where it was like $9, $10. But then when people would join, it would be like a $3 lead, but then the entire rest of the day would go by and it would take 12 hours to get another lead. So the cost per lead itself was getting really high compared to what I was hoping for. And so that's when I started to realize, after I ran it for a couple of days, tested a couple other creative, that because of this topic itself is, again, more nuanced for people who are more experienced, I need to find better angles on the creative side to both prime them better, but also kind of get them at a wider point, like when they're more interested, and kind of get the nurture process kind of started further. Because people who joined from the opt-in, they're good, but I'm not willing to also pay for that high of a cost per lead for a quiz. And so that's kind of where I'm shifting to right now for the creative.
Okay. So you touched on something, which was that you wanted to run lead ads to the quiz instead of direct to sales ads. Can you remind me what price point is your course at?
So this would be the one that I'd probably have as the deadline with it. So the deadline price is the like 47 currently. Like if it's not deadline, it's 97.
Okay.
Which is, again, not bad. It's just the topic itself is very specific and kind of like nuanced. And so I knew that because the people who come into my awareness about this are more problem aware, I needed more time to kind of get them to be ready to buy, versus sales ads. You kind of have to have people already more in the solution aware stage to kind of be ready to go.
And I would say too that in general, when running ads direct to sale, you would want the course to be under $47 for that first purchase. Otherwise, the ads don't work. Like, I think in all my years of running ads, I've only ever once had a successful direct to sale ad. Cold audience, warm audience doesn't matter. That was over $100, but most of them are $47 or less.
And that's kind of why I thought about that, because I'm like right on the edge with the deadline part where it's 47 technically, but it just, I knew from the awareness of the people, it would have cost me a lot more. And that's why I love the quiz ads, because they're a great indicator of like, if you're not able to get a good cost per lead for a free thing, then it needs to be reworked better, the creative, to get people to be ready to go.
Yep. Yep. So then obviously you've tested a lot of different creative or a number of different ad creatives and ad copies. Can you tell me in general for the listener too, how many different versions of ad copy and how many different visuals have you tested through like so far?
I want to say, so I split between, I think I did 2/3 were reels and 1/3 was static images, just because I felt like they're easier for me to create, both like B-reel type, or sorry, B-roll type reels, and then also talking head. And so I think I tested about 4 or 5 talking head, about 4 or 5 of the B-roll reels, and then 3 or 4 of the static images.
Nice. So 4 to 5 talking head, 4 to 5 B-roll, which and the static images, what have you seen that's 'cause everybody wants to know what has
I
converted
know.
faster?
What word?
What's converting right now?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I find that the reels probably performed they did perform better than the static images, which surprised me because I feel like static images are having a resurgence again for at least better cost per lead. But so the one that did best for me, I think the angle number one of them was about like a kind of a testimonial for myself, saying that I had a new lead magnet, that I got a new console call within 24 hours once it was up. So I started with that kind of like hook, and then showed them, I think it was like a 1 minute reel about how I set up the app or the lead magnet and how it got there, and then to join the free quiz to learn your gap if you're not getting that. The other one for the reel was more educational. So this is probably my best hook so far that uh, that seems to work really well, which is your lead magnet is psychologically training people not to buy from you. And then going into, I know. And so then I go into a little bit of like my framework that I talk about, kind of priming them better for the course, because that's the framework that I mentioned in there. But if you want to know your gap, then go into the quiz. And so those two probably have performed the best for the talking head. For the B-roll reel, they they were kind of okay. I don't feel like I've spent a lot of time on the B-roll ones, just because they can kind of either really perform or do nothing. And so those ones, I think I had 1 or 2 that were like a shot of me on the beach talking about, day 1, you had someone join your list. Day 30, they're still not doing anything. Day 90, they still haven't done anything. Find your gap, that kind of piece. And then for the static images, I had one that did okay. That was a image of a crumpled up paper that was, your lead magnet is acting like a digital paperweight. Figure out why, or like figure out the gap. And I think I had one other about launch. So like you had a recent launch, but you weren't able to see the results from it. Your lead magnet was probably part of the reason why, like something like that. So those are kind of the main ones that I remember bringing in some sort of a result. Primarily the reels though did perform the best.
Okay. I like that you've tested so many different visuals and that you've tested different kinds of hooks because I usually say that if a lead magnet, which they do, solves a pain point, there might be 5 different ways you could communicate about that pain point or different frustrations you could communicate around that pain point. But not all of those angles, those hooks will convert equally. And so you've done the work and seen that the lead magnet is keeping people from buying you. That one's converted really well. All right, all right. So then walk us through your here's the first stat we're gonna jump into, cost per lead. And then later I wanna know your targeting, like what you've started off kinda targeting and what you're targeting now.
Yeah, so the cost per lead at that time, again, it kind of varied because I think I had tested the first round that was straight to just the quiz itself, and then one that was this recent one for when I had the full funnel up. And so the cost per lead, when I did just the first iteration, that was the initial quiz just from the reels alone, did pretty well. It was, I that seems like the digital paperweight one got around like $3.45, and the crumpled up one, The combo one was crazy. It was like $10. I'm like, that's nuts. And then another variation of the paperweight did around like $3. And so it's interesting because even though these numbers are good, when I looked at again the overall spend of it, it was a lot higher. Like another one got $4, but then another one got $13. And so there wasn't one that was consistently performing, you know, each each time enough for me to keep it on or keep it running without kind of going back to the drawing board. It helped me at least clarify that I'm on the right track, but the leads weren't consistently lower or like in that range that I would prefer.
Mm. So when you say they weren't consistently performing, am I understanding correctly that, let's say, this one that got as low as $3.45, which congratulations, that's actually a pretty good cost per lead. Um, Disclaimer, dear listener, cost per lead varies in every different niche. And even if you have a business in the same niche as somebody else that is running ads, or you have a business in the same niche as Danielle, your cost per lead may not be what hers is, because cost per lead also comes down to messaging and creative and ad copy and targeting and all these sorts of things. And I always say what matters more than cost per lead is the profit per lead that we're making on the back end of the funnel, whatever ads are running to. But that's a disclaimer. This is not gospel. This is just two strangers online, strangers to you, though we know each other, having a conversation about Facebook and Instagram ads, and by no means is a guarantee that you will run ads and do well. All right. Now we can get we'll get back to the episode in a moment, but by now you probably have been wondering, like, what is this quiz exactly? Because I want to take the quiz. And if you want to know why your email list is growing, but your sales aren't, head down to the description below and click on the link, and that quiz will tell you exactly why. We can continue. So, am I understanding that correctly? That for all of the ads, they started off performing at various levels, uh, but then performance deteriorated. How long did each ad roughly on average hold like that lower lead cost before the lead cost started to float upward?
I would say the first day the CPL was pretty solid. By day 2, it was the morning of day 2, like, they would be okay, but then after remaining day 2 and day 3, it would just be a slog to get it to back to the same numbers, and so it was kinda like an initial like, in the testing phase especially, it did okay, but then, yeah, once it was running longer, it and by longer, it's not that long, like day 2 or 3, but in general, it was the longer it was on, the cost really just kept going up and up, and so that's when I realized it's usually supposed to go the other way around, like, the more you test, it should be able to dial in. And that's when I started to realize, okay, I might need to rework the creative and like potentially targeting too. But I know and we can talk about this as well. Like right now, you have more control over the creative than the targeting on the ad side.
Yeah, but that is okay. So we're trending in the wrong direction. Let's go a little further. Can you tell me about the targeting?
Yeah, the targeting I kept pretty like broad as much as I could for this because I wasn't quite sure who would what audience would work for this. So I the main ones I did was kind of like I targeted creative entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, um, MailChimp, because like email marketing is kind of like related to this as well. And so those were the main ones that I played with. I didn't try and do too much around interest based of like we don't really have a lot of big names we can target in our industry on ads. And so I tried to get as close to what I think would be related to this work without getting hyper specific just because you really can't anymore. And so I had mostly those be the main audiences I would kind of target.
Okay. Were you using the Advantage Plus option that Meta has?
I don't think so. I think I turned it off.
Okay, cool. So Advantage Plus off. Dear listener, Advantage Plus, that just means that you're letting Meta's algorithm stray outside of your defined targeting parameters.
And I'll double check too actually while I say that because I'm like near sure I said no, but um I feel like life's a blur. Oh no, I had it on. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I had
Advantage Plus on.
yeah, Advantage was on.
Okay, so you had Advantage Plus on so that the algorithm could go outside of your initial targeting audience as it saw fit. You were doing interest-based targeting, and you were targeting creative entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, MailChimp, those interests. Did you limit age, or did you have age completely open, like ages 18 to 65 plus?
I did try and limit the age a little bit, not by a ton, but I think the age was like 21 to 65 or something. Like I kept it pretty broad. I just didn't want like 18 or under. Um, so it was just a slightly less people.
Cool. Any other targeting that was going on, or that about it?
That was really it. I tried to keep it as again with a little bit of parameters, but mostly tried to let it do its thing.
Okay. How big is your email list?
Not large. I think it's about like 1,000. And just because I spent a lot of last year. The issue, as you know, as being a service provider, you spend a lot of time working on other people's businesses, but not on your own. And so I've done bundles and summits throughout the last year, but I didn't make a concerted effort, which is actually why I initially ran the ads in February before my launch to just kind of get a little bit of a boost for the email list before I opened up the launch.
Hey, you know what? I understand completely. My email list is not large either, and that's okay. Um, I think my email list might be smaller than your email list, actually. Dun, 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 right? So, um, targeting wise, I wonder why do you have your ad manager up in front? I wonder why costs would be going higher, especially if Advantage Plus was on and you had initial lead costs. But one thing I usually do in the beginning when I set up ad accounts is I upload their email list, especially if it's like 800 people or more, um, and then I build a lookalike.
I did not try lookalikes this time around.
So it's just testing, right? Um, although there is targeting that tends to perform better. You just have to test. But almost always, I start with a lookalike of a client's entire email list because over time, I've just that lookalike tends to perform. And when a client's paying you a monthly retainer fee, you want to get as good results. And when I say good results, I don't just mean low cost per lead. I mean highest quality lead at the lowest quality, lowest at the lowest cost possible. So yeah, I usually start with targeting a lookalike of the entire email list, which that usually gets me an audience of like 1.2 million minimum, like anywhere up from there up to like 2 million. Uh,
Do you try and keep it close? Are you like 1% lookalike, or do you try and do 2 or 3%? Like, what's your kind of range for it?
I do 1% lookalike just because Meta's limiting that lookalike to people that the 1% of people that share the most in common with the custom audience or core audience, i.e., the email list that you uploaded. So I keep it 1%. Um, and then I only start to test higher percentages, i.e., allowing more people into that lookalike who don't share as many similarities with like the custom or core audience if the first 1% doesn't work. But usually, unless we're trying a newer offer, like usually the 1% works just fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I don't think I chose intentionally to not do a lookalike this time. Personally, I was just more curious to see how the interest would work. Because, like you said, I think the lookalikes are closest. But my brain was like, you know what? I kind of just want to see what Facebook would do if I just like blank slated it.
Yeah, okay. Well, definitely try the lookalike. And also, how many times have you run ads before? Or like, yeah,
For this or just in general?
in general.
Well, the thing is, for me, I'm kind of for my personal business, I'm more of like a launch based ads person. So I don't usually run things evergreen. And so I probably do ads a couple times a year right before I do a launch or some type of like promotion for something. Like, for example, in the next month or two, I'll be publishing a private podcast called Funnel Field Notes, which came from the experiment of like talking with 10 established entrepreneurs who are like over 6 or 7 figures who had kind of a med launch and funnel, and what I saw as a patterns based on the customer data that would be helpful for people to know. And so I was actually probably next month I'll be testing out that as well. It's kind of either I still haven't decided. It's going to be probably a coin flip coin flip decision of like, do I keep it free or paid? But whatever I do decide, I'll probably be running ads for that. So I find that I naturally try and run ads once I have something either new or usually tested. I don't prefer to run things just straight, but if it's my own business, I'm willing to kind of play and be the guinea pig a little bit more. And so I'm more of a launch based person.
Okay, cool. About how much have you spent on ads total? Like total?
Probably a couple thousand.
Okay, so one thing I will say is that the broad open targeting, like Meta is moving towards that. They want to, because a pixel has been hooked up with a business and collecting data on who follows you on social media versus who's visiting your website. Like Meta is trying to make it easier to run ads. In general, broad targeting works when there have already been a lot more signals, or uh, Meta has more data about your business with a pixel. That being said, in the beginning, yeah, target a lookalike audience of your entire email list, especially as your email list approaches 1,000 people and more. But, and here's the big but, is when you were running the ads in the beginning, there's usually two ways to approach it. Either we're running the same visual and testing different ad copy hooked up to that same visual. So like visuals A, B, and C, and just maybe we're running the first visual A, and then there's 3 versions of ad copy. So your ads would like one ad would be like visual A with ad copy 1, visual A with ad copy 2 for the second ad, and so on and so forth. And there's the other way around where you're taking one piece of ad copy and matching it up with different visuals. Which way did you start off?
One ad copy with different visuals, just because with the reel, a lot of them were videos. I didn't feel the need to try and do too much around the ad copy itself.
Okay, cool. And what was your daily ad spend in the beginning?
I think I kept it simpler for the testing phase. I think it was either like 25 to 35 a day. So I kept it smaller because I wanted to see what it would do before scaling up further. Probably the highest was probably like 50 a day.
Yeah, that sounds good. Starting off at 25, 35 a day is fine. And how many ads did you have in the ad set originally?
Like it's hard because I'm trying to separate the recent test versus the one I did in February. And so for the recent one, I did about 5 creative, just because I didn't want to try and do too much variation with a lower budget.
Yeah, that also sounds good. You were saying all the right things. I don't see any big red flags in the way that this campaign was set up.
That's kind of why it's funny you mentioned them. That's the reason why I think I am pretty sure I'm down. I will definitely try to look alike and let you know how that goes because I, for some reason, did not think about that. So I'll try it. But I really do think the creative itself, because this topic is so niche and nuanced, what I'm gonna try this next round is potentially try and actually start with a video views type ad, and then that's more nurture based, similar to how why the reels did so well, and then come with the quiz ad and see how that might better perform, just because I'm thinking that I need to give more time for the people who are seeing this. They kind of need more education, or like more, get them at kind of a more, I don't have the word correctly, but like wider point, versus always going straight into the narrowest, the angle of the launch or the quiz, potentially going up higher. I think one of the creative I'm going to be testing out soon is kind of like um, a test, like a video will be something like, if you have this cost per lead versus this lead, what do you think? And then kind of go from there. So kind of make it actually a little bit easier to get the curiosity peaked and then run for the ad and just see how that might do, instead of going straight for the main angle that I I think works, but I think it's also just too nuanced at this stage.
Okay. When you say video view ad first, do you mean like run around or set up a campaign that is a video views campaign and then you'll retarget those video viewers with a lead magnet ad?
Yes, even though it's a little bit of like a workaround, because normally you shouldn't need that. Usually I would do a video views ad for like a retarget them for a higher thing like a webinar or sales ad, but I'm wondering if maybe that might be, I mean, I'm still might try it as a lead magnet at first, with the new creative and see if that just gets people in the door. But if not, I'm wondering if I just need to have more touch points before they see the quiz itself.
Okay. I have a very strong opinion on that. Before I share the opinion though, I have a question on two metrics. It's going to be, and this should give you some clarity about what you could test next. It's going to be the link click-through rate and the CTR all, or the total click-through rate on your ads.
So for the ones that did perform, the reels, one of them had a 6.4% link click through rate. One of them had a 1.34%, and then another one had 0.6.
Can you give me the average or total for the ad set?
1.61%.
Okay, cool.
And then
And then,
CTR all, right?
yeah.
3.13% for like the average or the all.
Hey, good news. So the reason I asked that, and I need to clarify, you have the link to your quiz in the copy of the ad, in the ad copy, right? Of all the metrics, cost per lead is, or cost per sale is like the most important. But then to troubleshoot ads that aren't working like I want them to work, I jump straight to after cost per lead. In this case, cost per lead is high, or good, starts off good, reasonable, but then it drifts higher and all of your ads are doing that. So I went to targeting, because if we, and you did the due diligence, if you will, you tested different ad copy, different videos, different hooks, different graphics, right? So if we find ourselves testing, at least when I'm in an account managing for clients, and I'm testing all the basics, all the right things, and I can't get cost per lead to go downward, or it just drifts higher, then I'm going to look and make sure that there's not something wrong with my ad copy. And I can tell there's something wrong with ad copy when the link click through rate is below 1%. And yours is not, or yours was not. But what that means is basically, of all the people who view an ad, the people that are clicking on the link should be more than 1%. If you get like 0.75%, that's like a red flag that your ad copy is not converting to the click. And this does include the link that's in that learn more button, if you have learn more as a call to action. Um, but and then also, a healthy visual of an ad usually means that the CTR all is about 3 times greater or more, but at least a 3-to-1 ratio, as in CTR all is 3 times greater than the CTR link. And you basically had numbers that match those stats exactly, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. So in this case, you did all the work testing your ads, your ad copy was converting like it should, and so were your visuals. In that case, it's like you don't have to go and wonder, is there something we should change up about the visuals or the ad copy? Most likely, and it's just a most likely, you want to just stop targeting whatever you're targeting now and switch your targeting.
Okay. That's such an easier fix.
Right? Right? And but that's how it works though. Um, it's like the data's there. It tells us a story. We just have to know how to interpret the numbers. And so most likely, can't guarantee it, but switch your targeting, since your CTR link and your click-through rate all are standard and you've done your due diligence testing. Switch the targeting. See what happens with your cost per lead. It's either going to be higher or it's going to be lower, because we're switching up targeting, right? And when I say switch targeting, keep Advantage Plus on, but try that entire email list, a lookalike based off the entire email list.
I'm curious in this case because, like, I will definitely try to look alike because you know what I targeted already. If the lookalike doesn't work, what is your recommendation there for most people who? Because I feel like what I have is a very niche profile in terms of who to target. So if the lookalike doesn't work, do you normally then kind of go back to making it even more broad of the targeting? What's kind of your process for that?
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Like 1900, but it is not a profile that I feel like I have nurtured well over the last 6 months.
Okay, and it started out as a personal profile?
No, I think it was always a business one.
Oh, that's good. Okay. So then I actually, when we have us, and Instagram following has nothing to do with the performance of ads. Only that in my mind, I was thinking of a different option. Like if you were telling me your email list was, um, you know, 800 to 1,000 people strong, but then you had an Instagram profile that was a business only profile and it had like 80,000 followers. And I would say, well, build a lookalike off of the Instagram profile or people who follow you on Instagram. The concept here that my brain was going to is what other large and quality audience could we build the lookalike off of for different targeting? But in this case, without having seen how targeting a lookalike of your entire email list could perform, my gut says you're probably at the stage where you might just want to try a different lead magnet if targeting that other lookalike doesn't work, because it goes back to same pain point. Sometimes a different lead magnet just works a lot better. Like I have had clients super established, and what does established business mean? Just business that's already working well and making boatloads of money. Uh, a lead magnet just doesn't hit as well as we would like, as in it's not working well. And we can test out all the angles and everything, but then I've seen it multiple times where they just switch up the lead magnet and it converts better.
It's interesting you mentioned that because this quiz, because I have it on the thank you page, but I have the results in the back end. And so the lead magnet quiz for what it is when people are in it, the completion rate's like 60% plus. And so people are actually liking it. And so I think actually in this case, what I might try and do if the lookalike doesn't work, I'll probably have to get deadline funnel then if I do this, but I'd have to basically try to put the quiz in the opt-in page versus having it on the thank you page. I wonder how that might perform in terms of getting people immediately into the quiz versus right now it's like a name and email that pushes them to the thank you page. And so I wonder if I flipped it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I maybe should have asked you that question first. Of the quiz ads I've run, which I don't normally run ads to quizzes, but all of them have the quiz. The opt-in for the quiz is at the end of the quiz to get a result. But to start the quiz, there's no name and email.
Which is the only reason why I didn't do it this way was just because I was testing System.io's internal like deadline feature, but I think that's biting me in the butt more than it's helping me at this point.
Okay. Try it and see, because here's what could be happening. Meta is always working on your behalf. Even though it seems like Meta is trying to just take our money, Meta makes their money from advertisers like us, right? So they want us to get leads and leads that convert to sales. However, if Meta does not get enough signals or clear enough signal, as in number of people opting in, then it's hard for its algorithm to optimize on our behalf. And so it could be, but I'm guessing you've already compared like the number of leads that show up on the back end of your System.io, the email CRM that you're using, the CRM that you're using, to what Meta's showing, right? And there's no big discrepancy, yeah?
Yeah, no big discrepancy.
But you were collecting name and email up front, so all the people were hitting that thank you page right away and becoming a lead, and sending that lead event to Meta. So it's not like Meta doesn't know who's becoming a lead. In that case, there's no issue with tracking. Even if you set up the quiz like I've seen most of them set up with ads, that doesn't necessarily fix the cost per lead issue. Because my mind is thinking, okay, if it's not ad creative or visuals, it could be the targeting. Was there just not enough leads coming in for Meta to figure out who is your best lead?
That could be also the thing too. I mean, even though I was spending a certain amount, like because the cost per lead was getting high at the end, there wasn't like a lot compared to what normally they'd have to get out of the testing phase.
I would look. Quiz ads are some of the hardest to make work. Um, because in general, somebody doesn't actually opt in, as in give you their name and email and become a quote unquote lead as far as Meta is concerned with the pixel and the lead event until at the end of the quiz. Uh, Thus, because of the quiz completion rate, which is never 100%, fewer of the people that click on your ad actually become a lead. You can make them work. Like I'm running for an author right now, like a successful quiz, quiz of the lead magnet kind of ads. It's just a little more difficult. I'll still go back to, if you try different targeting and the cost per lead is still much higher than you want it to be, you might just want to go for a different kind of lead magnet. And you would be surprised how changing up the lead magnet all of a sudden can completely flip the equation, and you're getting like great leads at maybe even a lower cost per lead, and things are going good. But before we end this episode, I want to say two things. Can we talk about those? Okay. One, I wouldn't start off running ads to like a video views campaign and then trying to retarget, let's say, people who viewed 15 seconds of an ad or video with a lead magnet ad. Uh, Specifically, I haven't seen good results with that approach because the video views, if you try to run ads cheaply to get video views, that can be good to attract people to your Instagram account to follow you. Um, Sometimes it can be good if you have, say, mini chat hooked up to a reel that's just already taken off organically, and you want to take that reel and target it towards a specific audience of people, knowing that if they engage with the post and comment, then they can get a DM, for the lead magnet or whatever the call to action on that reel is. But the objective that you use for those, like a video views objective or an engagement or an awareness objective, those by default are not necessarily targeting people who will become a lead. They're targeting people who will watch a video. And so you end up spending money for not a lower quality of person, but just a person that tends to do different things online, like watch videos and not necessarily become a lead. And so, in my experience, I haven't seen that strategy work as well as just figuring out what the good lead magnet is. And good is relative. For anybody's business though, good equals cost per lead that works for the business to make money further down the funnel. I would say spend your time and ad spend there.
Yeah, I think the reason why I think the only reason why I did quiz at, or I was thinking of the video views was because I had pointed and done all the targeting to where I was running out of ideas of like what else to try. And so I have no problem not doing the quiz ads, but it makes a lot of sense for like the way that they show up and how a video views person would be different in terms of a behavior than a lead one would be.
I'm curious, at the second thing was I was going to say, how much are the leads worth? We know they started off costing around $3.50, and that cost per lead would drift higher. But did you ever have enough leads and then sales to determine like how much the leads were worth as they, were traveling to the end of your funnel?
Unfortunately, not at this time. I think again, like the first few hours I had the lead magnet quiz funnel open last week, I got a sale from it, and then I want to say a few from the earlier iteration that was purely just the quiz. A couple of those joined uh, the live launch, and so I didn't set up tracking enough because I was more focused on kind of like testing the messaging angles and other things. I just hadn't made it a priority to track too much the better tracking on the back end.
Okay. Then yes. Test new audience, try a different lead magnet if a different audience targeting doesn't quite work. And on that other lead magnet, I actually would try a instead of a quiz, I would try something like more simpler to make, where on that thank you page is what I'm going to call the tripwire offer into your course, because you have a limited time like a 2-day limited time discount. What basically is like a 50% discount, right? From down from 97 to $47 for the course. Yeah, I would try that and see how that works with a different lead magnet.
So I think what I'm going to probably do is I'll test targeting. I'll see about flipping the quiz to be on the front page instead of the thank you page. The only thing about the lead magnet, trying a new one, I'm a little bit hesitant only because this quiz really helps get people primed and the awareness level I need them to be for that part. At least from what I've seen for the warm part, and it's the hard part with like just transitioning to cold. And so I'm having a little hard time on wanting to move it to a purely different lead magnet, but maybe a different delivery format I might try.
Okay. Huh. Can you tell me what your frequency was and your cost per mil, your CPM? Because sometimes when those go high, it means that the audience we're targeting is too small, or if we're targeting a big audience, somehow the frequency is high because the algorithm is like somehow stuck targeting a very small percentage of that.
So frequency was 1.12.
That's right
And
on. So
and
it's a
then
cold
what was the
audience.
other one you mentioned?
CPM, cost per mil. This is the cost to show your ad to 1,000 people.
This one was $27.52.
Also, not high. High would be like approaching $100 CPM. So neither of those indicate that the audience that you were targeting was too small or that the algorithm was stuck targeting just a small portion of people in that audience. So again, I'm not seeing any red flags as far as ad performance, yet the cost per lead goes higher, which to me points to targeting or time to switch up the lead magnet. Or you can keep testing through different hooks. But if you have hooks that have been working in Reels really well, and your CTR all is at a decent spot, you could try different combinations of ad copy, like with the winning hook. Since you're doing Reels, the visuals would be more important here. Otherwise, you might have to switch. You might have to switch lead magnets. You don't necessarily have to put the opt-in for the quiz at the end of the quiz result or in order to get the quiz result, because your tracking is clearly set up right. And that means the lead event is being sent to Meta. We're just gonna have to keep testing.
That's kind of, yeah, what I felt as well. But I'm definitely willing to try the lookalike targeting because I haven't tested that out yet. And then from there, kind of see what might be the next step. Because I'm hopeful based on the results that I have gotten from different cold audiences through bundles and summits that I've tested this lead magnet with. It has seemed to perform well. It's just, as you know, with cold audience, it's a whole different ball game. And so I personally, I find it's the hardest is to test for your own business than it is for other people because you're too close to it. And so I appreciate the reminder for like lookalike and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, like when we have something that's working, as soon as we test, like you said, to cold audience, sometimes it works out initially, but other times we just have to do more testing to get it to work. And this is like a very real ads situation, like completely real, completely normal. We just keep testing until we find the right setup. And sometimes we have to turn left, turn right, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to see an example of a guy named Jock who is running a successful low ticket offer powered by Facebook and Instagram ads, tap or click the screen right up there, and you can learn from his journey. And he actually did have to switch things up, I believe, 3 times before he found success.